Hey guys, my name is Lauren Howarth. Just when I do this, if you could change to the next PowerPoint slide, that would be great. Alrighty, so Vice's Guide to North Korea, which is the documentary I've chosen to do, is a three-part miniseries featured on the popular indie-based website Vice.com. Vice is a print magazine and website focused on arts, culture, and news topics that are not often covered in mainstream media. The Vice franchise includes the works of journalists, columnists, fiction writers, graphic artists, cartoonists, and photographers. The content embedded within Vice is dependent on the facilitator, constructed by their own attitudes, values, and beliefs towards the subject. The Vice Guide to Travel, which was developed in 2006, is a travel show-style documentary by Vice Media. Content is formed through the documentation of Vice employees as they travel to dangerous, weird, and offbeat locations throughout the globe. This time, it was the Vice founder Shane Smith who embarked on the journey to North Korea to document the Arirang Mass Games in the capital Pyongyang. It highlights these severe cultural differences between Western societies, such as the USA, and what can be perceived as a modern communist nation such as North Korea. What was intended to be this routine journalistic project soon became an unexpected insight into a strange and foreign country, an experience that Shane Smith described as a freaky trip. Today in my presentation, I will be identifying the modes presented by my chosen documentary, drawing upon the theoretical underpinnings of Bill Nichols. I will then expand on the relationship between the documentary's content and its mode in relation to the style in which it is presented, with a deeper analysis as to how these three elements, content, mode, and style, come together to create the film's distinct and individual form. Firstly, it is important to describe what we mean by documentary mode. American documentary theorist Bill Nichols developed this conceptual scheme in an attempt to distinguish particular traits and conventions of various documentary film styles. Nichols identifies these 6 different documentary modes to be poetic, expository, observational, participatory, reflexive, and performative. The main focus will be on expository today, as I believe that is the most evident mode that has been used in the documentary or in the Vice Guide. However, in saying this, modes, they're not mutually exclusive. There is this often significant overlapping between modalities within individual documentary features. As Nichols points out, the characteristics of a given mode function as a dominant in a film is given, but they do not dictate or determine every aspect of its organization. While Nichols' discussion of modes does progress chronologically with the order of their appearance and practice, documentary film often return and interchange between themes and devices from previous modes. With this is the case, I believe that there is a moment throughout the guide where a performative mode is engaged by the filmmaker to further illustrate his interpretation of the situation at hand, very much reminding the audience that this is his documentary and that the attitudes and beliefs being vocalized are of his own accordance. In a Griersonian approach, pertaining to the documentary forefather himself, John Grierson, the expositional mode delivers a discourse of sobriety, bases its virtues on the emphasis of the expression of hidden assumptions at the core of the documentary genre. It appears in the Vice Guide that Smith kind of seeks to inform the viewer about the sensational, problematic, and exploitive actions of the North Korean dictatorship. Smith does this through his constant narration throughout the film, as well as the utilization of historical videos and North Korean kind of propaganda films, film clippings really, to really assert his journalistic intentions. Click, and then you've got a picture kind of supporting that with the bit of footage, and then click again. Awesome. So, narration is a distinct innovation of the expositional mode of documentary. Initially manifesting as this omnipresent, kind of omniscient and objective voice intoned over footage, narration holds the weight of explaining and arguing the film's rhetorical content. The film differs in that it doesn't feature a traditional voice of God narration, but a bit more of a personal interview-style narration that guides the viewer from the commencement of the idea for the film through to the visa application and travel, while also providing historical context. Smith's kind of penchant for exaggeration, combined with the irreverent tone, creates a dual commitment to make North Korea appear as wild as possible, and to consistently boost the sense that this audience is participating in a wild adventure with the filmmaker. This serves the audience in two ways. So, nose is itchy. It highlights the common westernized kind of preconception about North Korea, as well as the trust in the Vice brand to provide edgy, unique entertainment. Some of the exaggeration is a little more subtle. For example, his entry into North Korea through the consulate in Shenyang, China, as a form of bribery, kind of recounting that a de facto kind of recommended that they bribe the officials there. Then mentioning this visa fee in a sort of exaggerated fashion, as if it should have been accompanied with a wink, like, visa fee. This happens around the 6 to the 7 minute mark. So through the use of this active tone, I believe the filmmaker is positioning the audience to see North Korea as a gluttonous dystopian society who pick and choose who enters their country. There is constant referral throughout the documentary to how North Koreans view Americans as these imperialists, which Smith comments on with, this bit of sardonic tone, inadvertently sort of projecting his own sense of Western superiority. There is a satirical undertone that is present throughout the documentary, which is supported through the use of these animated interludes to break up the scenes. Throughout the use of this narrative style, Smith is staying faithful to the expositional mode. However, by interspersing narration with direct conversations between himself and the camera and cameraman, kind of giving his introspective thoughts on the situations currently happening, there is this performative element kind of coming into play, which exemplifies the aforementioned notion that modern documentaries have evident overlaps in modality styles. Click. And you got a couple of pictures there. Click again. Awesome. So, where documentary in other modes, for example, poetic, thrives on a filmmaker's aesthetic and subjective visual interpretation of a subject, expositional mode collects footage that functions to strengthen the spoken narrative. The use of visual tactics gives rise to what Nichols refers to as evidentiary editing, a practice in which expositional images kind of illustrate, illuminate, evoke, or act in a counterpart to what is being said. We take our cue from the commentary and understand the images as evidence or demonstration. This is illustrated in the scenes where Smith is explaining the purpose of the DMZ. It's around the 3 minute mark. As he's rifling off facts as to what the DMZ, which is that kind of little border thing between North Korea and South Korea, does for the segregation of North and South Korea. With this, archival footage is used to add empirical substance to what is being said. Pertaining to the aforementioned narrative style, the documentary is interspersed with this traditional Western reference points of North Korean videos of military parades, as well as more rarely seen tourists kind of extolling various events, projects, and decisions that the DPRK sort of considers significant. Smith is constantly questioning the odd activities of the Korean citizens, and through the use of his footage and editing style, he delivers this, evidential template for the audience to intake. Let's do that one again. He delivers an evidential template for the audience to intake the content while forming their own opinions on the underlying issues at hand. So, and then you got a couple more pictures. Awesome. In summary, Vice's Guide to North Korea delivers an expositional yet performative insight into one of the more elusive countries to have developed in the modern era. Shane Smith has used the modern hybrid approach as a form of engagement for the younger populace who often make up the Vice demographic. Through analysis of the aforementioned styles pertaining to his modality choices, discourse of sobriety, personal interview style narration, exaggerated tone, animated interludes, and archival footage, it is evident how Smith has amalgamated all elements to create the film's distinct and individual form. Cool. Thank you.